now we need to take on Gengar, so I go for a Thunder Wave to hopefully get a paralysis. Allowing us to take out the Gengar the next turn with another Dragon Rage. In comes Morty's first Haunter, and both of these Haunters have Curse, so we just need to hope we take care of them before they use it. However, second, and it's looking like we might actually get out of this as I fire off a Dragon Rage to do over half. Morty then finally goes for Curse, closing out the game, probably not the way that he intended. Moving on to Route 39, we meet Balba the Safari Zone guy. And while he doesn't have anything to offer us in the short term, if we manage to be forever, which means for the first time in the run, we get to take on a gym leader with a Pokemon other than Dratini. And while Chuck is way less of an existential threat than Morty ever was, he still packs a punch. And I mean that literally. The man loves to go for a Focus Punch, and hopefully we're going to use that for advantage. He goes for it the first turn, giving me a chance to fire off a free Dragon Rage, doing just over half. But when he goes for Focus Punch again the next turn, Dragon Rage isn't quite enough to take Primeape out. This is fine, since we've taken no damage for 2 turns and wasted Chuck's Hyper Potion. It also lets us take the Primeape down to half after the Hyper Potion. I'm not as psyched about the fact that he manages to get a Rock Slide flinch, getting in a free hit, and even less excited to see him go for Double Team, since I really don't want to be missing hits. Luckily, I end up connecting with the Surf. It isn't enough to take the Primeape damage, as Poliwrath then misses a Hypnosis. A second Thunderbolt is enough to get him in range of being taken out by a third, but of course with its Citrus Berry, it gets taken back up above half health. Poliwrath then hits a Body Slam, and I'm really hoping I don't get paralyzed, which fortunately I don't, and get some health back with my own Citrus Berry. Finally, Poliwrath decides to go for a Focus Punch, giving me a free turn to attack it with a Dragon Rage, which isn't quite enough, but leaves Poliwrath in the red. Chuck then has a second Hyper Potion, giving me the chance to fire off a free Dragon Rage. I outspeed with another one and almost hit Poliwrath down into the red, just barely missing out as it hits me with a not very effective Surf that we tank beautifully because of all that special defense. Finally, I guess Chuck realizes he's out of options, just going for a Focus Punch and allowing me to take out the Poliwrath with a final Dragon Rage, granting us the 5th Gym Badge. Once we brought the Secret Potion cured Amphi, we get a call from Safari Warden Balba, who tells us we can now go past the gate to Route 47 and 48, reaching the Safari Zone, where we can't quite catch a dragon yet, but at least we can do some prep work. Normally to get Kingdra, you need to catch a Horsey and then pick up the Dragon Scale, which you need Waterfall to acquire, locking it behind the final gym. The smarter way to go about it is looking towards the event Pokewalker Route Winner's Path, which allows you to get a ton of cool Pokemon, but importantly, a Horsey that's already holding a Dragon Scale. Now, we could have gotten this Horsey at any time, but because it's not a dragon, we can't use it until it evolves into Kingdra. And since Horsey evolves into Seadra at level 32 for the first time in the run, since the level cap is now 34, we can evolve our Horsey and through a quick trade, finally get our second dragon, Kingdra. And we get this Kingdra right on time, since the next gym leader we have to face is Bryce, who's normally quite easy, but when you've got only dragon types, an Ice type gym leader is incredibly threatening. His first Pokemon, Seal, though, isn't even an Ice type, and I use the first turn to take most of its health out with a Thunderbolt as it just sets up Hail. This does mean that for the next 5 turns, any blizzards thrown at us are going to be 100% accurate, but it also means that I get a free turn to take out Seal with another Thunderbolt. Second down is Piloswine, and there is definitely a blizzard in our future, so we have to swap out, sending in Kingdra. Because of our Dragon Water typing, Blizzard isn't super effective, and Piloswine's special attack isn't anything to write home about. So despite being a 120 base power Ice, it does tank the hit fairly well though, which also activates its Citrus Berry. The reason I'm going for Muddy Water over Surf is because it has a slight chance to lower Dugonk's accuracy, but realistically, I should probably just be going for Surf, since Muddy Water has lower accuracy itself. Either way, my third Muddy Water gets a critical hit, which happens to be enough to take out the Dugong, granting us the 7th Gym Badge, and I will certainly take it. Well, okay, it's only technically the 7th Gym Badge, since we do still have to face Jasmine, and for one time in this challenge, a gym fight requires no preparation and isn't a problem at all, since we can just take out the Magnemite with a Surf each, which happens to be an even more effective strategy against Steelix, since it's also super effective. Now, before we get to move on towards Blackthorn City, there's the entire Team Rocket storyline. However, pretty much every member of Team Rocket has a surprisingly terrible matchup versus versus Kingdra. Petrel's Coffin draw one-shots with Surf, and Ariana gets taken care of by Ice Beam. Then there's Archer, but the man has a Houndoom, which we can also simply wash away. Which means we can get from Mahogany to Blackthorn without too much trouble. Here we get access to a few move tutors, but it seems like Kingdra doesn't quite trust me yet, though I do a whole lot more running around, at this time at least in the game, and take my Kingdra to the salon. And after all that trouble, Kingdra and I are good enough friends for it to learn Draco Meteor, which means we're ready to take on the final gym leader Claire in a Dragon versus Dragon clash. Of course, Claire isn't quite as committed to her Dragon theme as I am, since her lead is Gyarados. It does get an Intimidate on Dragonair, lowering its attack, but I don't intend on using physical attacks anyway, so that won't be a problem. It starts by hitting me with a Dragon Rage, but at this point of the game, it's not a very threatening move, and I fire back with a quad-effective Thunderbolt, which isn't quite enough to take it out. It's also not quite enough to take the Gyarados down into healing range, so after I get hit by another Dragon Rage, and get a bit of healing back from a Citrus Berry, I take out the Gyarados with another Thunderbolt. From here, Claire sends in her own Dragonair, and she's either going to go for a Dragon Pulse, which I know Kingdra can survive one of, or she's going to try to paralyze me with Thunder Wave. I do have enough speed EVs to outspeed her entire team with Kingdra, so paralysis would be incredibly detrimental, which is why I gave Kingdra Cherry Berry. This means I'll be able to outspeed the next turn, taking out the Dragonair with a super effective Ice Beam. She does then have a second Dragonair, but it just ends up suffering the same fate. This just leaves Claire with her ace Pokemon Kingdra, and with all the speed EVs we have, we're gonna be faster and able to drop a stab super effective Draco Meteor on this thing, which it's definitely not gonna survive. Pretty funny that Claire of all gym leaders is one of the easiest. Then again, she does think cheating and treating your Pokemon with violence is the way to go, since she can't pass this simple test. Maybe it wasn't a surprise that we won. For this. Before we can leave Johto and head to the Elite Four, we have to take on the Kimono Girls, but what makes this exceptionally easy is that we take them on one at a time, allowing us to just drop Draco Meteors without feeling the drawback. The only evolution that actually survives one is Vaporeon, but it wasn't a problem in the first place since Kingdra quad resists water. With the main plot of the game taken care of, we take our first steps into Kanto. But before we just throw ourselves blindly into the Elite Four, we should make some preparations, starting by picking up our gifts from Mom, including a choice scarf. We can then circle back to the Lake of Rage where we pick up our second choice item, the Specs. With only 2 Pokemon and one that's not even fully evolved, this is going to be incredibly tough. First, we've got Pharaohs the Dragonair with Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, and Thunder Wave. And finally, Nadra the Kingdra with Surf, Draco Meteor, Agility, and Ice Beam. It's not much of a team preview, but it's all we've got. And we start by facing off against Elite Four member Will, sporting a team full of Psychic types, which we don't have a particularly bad or good matchup against. I start with Choice Specs Kingdra, and instead of going for the super effective Ice Beam, I lock myself into Surf, since I'm expecting Jinx to come in next. The Surf is still enough to knock out the Xatu, and will be enough to knock out Jinx, which is incredibly important since Ice types are kind of a problem. Next we've got Executor, but because we're locked into Surf, we've got to swap out here, sending in Feroche. On the switch, the Executor sets up the Reflect, which doesn't matter since we're not running any physical moves on our team. I end up going for a Thunder Wave here to paralyze the Executor, which really isn't necessary, and I should have just swapped the Kingdra right away, which is what I do after getting hit by a Psychic, as the Executor just misses a Hypnosis. It wouldn't have been a huge problem if we'd been put to sleep, but we would have had to waste a few turns, so I'm glad we can just take out the Executor with an Ice Beam. Pulls out his Slowbro, and once again we're locked into a not very effective move, so so I'm forced to swap out into Dragonair as it just sets up with a curse. I then go for a Thunderbolt, but because I'm a Dragonair with a minus special attack nature and no EVs, it doesn't even do half, but at least I get the paralysis. To avoid getting it into healing range, I first hit the Slowbro with an Ice Beam before taking it out with a Thunderbolt, which just leaves Will with his final Pokemon and his second Xatu. I noticed that he loves using Confuse Ray, because I don't have a carry on Kingdra, I decided to stay in with Dragonair to get confused. This way it won't go for Confuse Ray when I switch to Kingdra, since my Dragonair is already confused, and as a bonus, I get to fire off a Thunder Wave. I then switch to Kingdra, and the Xatu even gets a critical hit, just to show you how safe we were. I then hit it with a Choice Specs Ice Beam to close out the first Elite Four fight.
The Lin Kuei is a centuries old flag dedicated to the realm of the text. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Second is the Poison Master Koga. Because dragons are only weak to Dragon and Ice in this generation, it's pretty easy to know which Pokemon they're going to send in, and we can very much use this to our advantage. This time, Dragonair is holding the choice packs, giving it enough firepower to take out Ariados with a flamethrower. And because of Koga's team composition, this guarantees the Fortress is going to come out next and fall victim to yet another flamethrower. That's two Pokemon down right off the bat, but we definitely can't one-shot his Muff. So I swap out into Kingdra as the Muff just goes for Minimize. I'd love to have a wide lens on Kingdra for this exact reason, but we need to have a One Berry just in case we get status by something like Crobat. I connect to the Surf, and even after a second Minimize, boosting its evasion to +2, I hit yet another Surf to take it out. Crobat comes in next, but because I've maxed out the Speed EVs on Kingdra, I can outspeed it with an Ice Beam, which is actually enough to just take it out in one clean hit. Koga's final Pokemon is a Venomoth, but because it's his last, I'm free to just drop a Draco Meteor with no drawback, which is definitely going to be enough to take it out. Next we take on Bruno, and here things get a little bit dicier, since the champ is a powerhouse to be reckoned with, especially with no guard. Bruno starts out with Hitmontop, and I've switched back the Choice Specs onto my Kingdra, allowing me to take out the Hitmontop in one hit right away with a Surf. Bruno then sends in his second Pokemon, and to be honest, I don't know why they didn't give this guy a Steelix. It's a shame. Third is what I'm scared of. The champ can definitely do some damage. I'm locked into Surf because of Specs, so that's all I can do, which isn't going to be enough to take out the champ. I hit it down deep into the red, activating its Citrus Berry to get a bit of health back, and it then hits me with a Cross Chop. And if this gets a critical hit, the run is over. That would have been pretty bad. Luckily, I go unpunished and can finish off the champ with another Surf. Bruno still has two Pokemon though, the Glass Cannon, which being Hitmonlee, which we can easily just knock out with a Surf. His Hitmonchan at the back is actually quite bulky, however, and it's probably going to be able to survive even a Specs stat Surf. He only has the elemental punches, so the worst thing that could happen to me is that I get status or something. After surviving the Surf, he connects with a Thunder Punch, which doesn't actually do that much damage, but ends up getting the Para. If we switch here, Dragonair just gets destroyed by an Ice Punch, and we lose the run immediately. So I pretty much have no choice. All I can do is fire off a Surf and hope we survive the next hit, but I end up getting a critical hit. That was a bit too close for comfort. I'm in disbelief that we actually made it all the way to the final Elite Four member, but next up is Aaron, the Master of Dark Types. I hit her Umbreon with a Spec Surf, which does a comfortable amount over half as she just sets up a double team. And while I've had fairly good luck versus evasion this run, I do end up missing the next one. But because she just hits me with a soft Feint attack, it doesn't matter that I kick her out the next turn. The same way Koga didn't have any super effective moves against dragons, Aaron doesn't either, so she sends in her next Pokemon in her team lineup next, which happens to be Houndoom, which we just wash away with another Surf. Next she sends in Gengar, which could be a little bit problematic. I'm mostly thinking about Destiny Bond, so I go ahead and swap out into Dragonair as it just goes for Spite. It then mysteriously tries to go for Spite again as I paralyze it with Thunder Wave. I really don't want it to surprise outspeed me and get me with a Destiny Bond to end the run. It really seems committed to going for Spite, however, since it does it when I swap in, allow me to take it out the next turn with a Draco Meteor. Locked into Draco, and now with -2 special attack, I really don't want to stay in with Kingdra versus Vileplume, so I swap out into Dragonair. It hits me with a Stun Spore, which isn't that awesome, but really not too big a hindrance either. The reason it's not a huge deal is because Vileplume's only attacking move is Battle Dance, which we resist with the Dragon type, and I've got all that special defense to go around. It turns out committing myself to a special throw instead of Honchkrow always puzzled me, but we can easily take care of it with a Thunderbolt, meaning that we managed to make it all the way to the it's time to take on Lance. Leaving aside the fact that half of this guy's team is full of illegal Dragonites, we actually have a pretty good matchup going into this champion fight. Despite just having 2 Pokemon, we might actually have the advantage going into this one. There are a few things that could go wrong. If this Ice Fang flinches us twice, gets a critical hit, or freezes us, we lose. Luckily, none of those things happen, and I can fire off a Specs Thunderbolt to take out this Gyarados. This means we're gonna have to face one of his Dragonites, and unless we want to sacrifice Dragonair here, we definitely have to switch right into a Dragon Rush, which is notorious for missing. However, in case that Dragon Rush would have hit us, Nagra is holding a Bond Berry to reduce the super effective Dragon-type damage. A crit would have still taken us out there, but a non-crit would have left us at just below half. However, in this case, we just end up at full and take out the Dragonite with a quad-effective Ice Beam. Lance then sends in its second Dragonite, but much like the first, we just tear it apart with a quad-effective Ice Beam. In this case, the fact that Lance's Dragonites all have super effective moves against Nagra is working for us, since we can just pick them all off. And because Charizard has Dragon Pulse, it's the one that comes out next out of his final 2. It's a lot less threatening than Aerodactyl, since Nagra's just faster and a super effective stat surf is enough to take it out in 1 hit. Aerodactyl, however, is both faster and has a way to make us flinch. So if he just gets lucky with a couple of Rock Slides, we're in big trouble. However, he doesn't even get a flinch on the first one, which was a huge sigh of relief since I just became the Johto champion only using 2 Dragon types. I was a little moved, but in my elation, I knew that the run still wasn't over. My Dragons had conquered all of Johto, but still ahead of me was the entire Kanto region, and I had one particular goal in mind. But before heading to Kanto, there were still things I needed to take care of in Johto. The first of which being to speak to Professor Oak and receive the National Pokedex. I then continued the Safari Zone questline, but you gotta do a lot of waiting around, so we'll come back to that later. So instead, let's set sail and head to Vermilion City, where after all this time, Dragonair is finally going to be allowed to evolve into Dragonite. You deserved it, buddy. And now that we have Dragonite, we're ready to take on the first of the Kanto gym leaders, Lieutenant Surge, who realistically stands no chance at all. I've got a Scarf Dragonite with the Earthquake TM you pick up in Victory Road, and it's just a clean sweep. Next, I head to Celadon to take on the Grass Gym leader, Erica, but much like Lieutenant Surge, she gets completely destroyed, this time by Specs Kingdra and Ice Beam. I head to Cerulean, where I ruin Misty's date, but that's just the beginning of how I'm going to ruin her day. She starts with a gold up that can barely touch Dragonite, so I'm free to set up a Dragon Dance and then destroy it with a Thunder Punch. Her Lapras, on the other hand, can handle a +1 Thunder Punch, but I came prepared for this with a Yachi Berry, and after Misty heals, it's another couple Thunder Punches, and I'm home free. Fourth, I take on Janine, who I can't just Earthquake into oblivion because her Crobat is flying, so I set up Dragon Dances until she confuses me, and I just heal it off with a berry. After all the trouble I went through against the Johto gyms, it's cathartic to do some sweeping. Sabrina is one of the ones I was a bit worried about, but since she starts with Espeon and it only has Psychic to hit me, I just decided to set up a Dragon Dance as she sets up a Calm Mind. And after that boost, her entire team gets outsped and knocked out by Fly. With 3 gym leaders left, Blue is the only one I'm really afraid of, since both Brock and Blaine can just be washed away by Specs Surfs. Blue, on the other hand, is working on a completely different plane. A diverse team of 6, this man is very dangerous, especially if you only have 2 Pokemon. He's got some of the most stacked Kanto Pokemon there are, so this should definitely be interesting. Starting out with an Executor, I probably should have sent in Dragonite and just gone for Dragon Dance and had something like a Lumberry, but I decided to take it out with Specs Kingdra instead, sending in Blue's Gyarados. With Dragon Dance and Ice Fang, this thing is incredibly dangerous, but even still, I decided to swap out into Dragonite since I'm holding a Yachi Berry as the Gyarados goes for a Dragon Dance. I then go for a Dragon Dance of my own since I know I can survive the Ice Fang, however, it ends up missing, which is huge, allowing me to go for a second Dragon Dance. This time the Gyarados connects with the Ice Fang, which doesn't do that much damage because of my Yachi Berry not even doing half, and I can take out the Gyarados the next turn with a Thunder Punch. Third out is Rhydon, and even though this thing has a lot of defense, at +2, there's nothing stopping Dragonite. Arcanine is here to change that, however, coming in with Intimidate, lowering us back down to just +1, which, incidentally, is still enough to one-shot the Arcanine. Blue's second to last Pokemon is Machamp, and here I make a huge mistake clicking Fly, because no guard works regardless, and with Stone Edge's high crit chance, it didn't actually get a critical hit, but if it would have, the run would have just been over right there. Finally, Fortunately, Blue has a pitch gun, and I was incredibly afraid that this thing had quick attack, so I decided to swap out into Negra, and this time, Blue actually did get his critical hit. What are you kidding me? It's a pitch gun. Of course it didn't take me out. That bird's useless. Once I shot it out of the sky with an ice beam, there was only one challenge remaining, and I needed to prepare. I was going to lure a dragon out of the Safari Zone, but this process is incredibly tedious. Not only do you have to place a gajillion specific objects to lure out the Pokemon, you also need to wait a lot of time. But after placing 6 forest objects and 19 peak objects and waiting longer than I wanted to, I found a Bagon. I'll be counting the entire Safari Zone as a single area, so this is all I get. But if you only got to add one Pokemon to your team before the scariest fight of the game, you'd want that Pokemon to be Salamence too. And so instead of a third of the team, I now have half a team of dragons. The only problem with my team of dragons is that none of them can learn Rock Climb, so I am going to have to bring a Geodude just to be able to get to the top of Mount Silver, but if all my Pokemon die except Geodude, I lose the game. Red's team is a big set of problems. Not only does his Lightning Pikachu do neutral damage to every one of my team members with Stab Volt Tackle, on top of that, 3 of his Pokemon have 100% accurate Blizzards. And as an extra FU, his Charizard has Dragon Pulse. But we've made it all the way here, and I'm not about to back down. It's the final fight of the game, and it is either player's game to win. The fact that he starts out with Pikachu is normally an abusable way to set up against him, but in this case, he does way too much damage for that to be viable. On top of that, there are variables like if he gets a paralysis with this Volt Tackle, I simply just lose the game. Very fortunately, that doesn't happen, and I'm able to set up my Dragon Dance to +1 attack and +1 speed. You might think that this is the start of some degenerate setup strat, but believe you me, if there was a way to do that and win easily, I would most certainly do it. Trust me when I tell you that this boost is completely necessary to deal with Red's biggest threat, Lapras. I could go for a Fly or Thunder Punch here, and either would do more damage than the selected Earthquake. However, neither would take out the Lapras, and both would put it in range of being healed. Instead, with an Earthquake, I can get Lapras below half health without triggering Dead's healing. And unfortunately, that's going to be Dragonite's final turn of the run. Falling to a blizzard from Red's Lapras. Not how I want it to be, buddy, but there's no other way. Taking Dragonite's place to finish what he started is our newest team member, Salamence, who after uselessly intimidating the Lapras can take out its remaining health with a super effective Brick Break. Not having to deal with stab 100% accurate blizzards anymore is huge. And speaking of huge, the next Pokemon with Blizzard we face is Snorlax. I hit it with a Brick Break, which does just over half, as it of course connects with the 100% accurate Blizzard that I can reduce the damage of with a Gotcha Berry. Together with the hail damage, I feel way more confident that my Brick Break the next turn will take out the Snorlax, dealing with yet another Blizzard threat. Charizard comes in next, but much like Lancezard, it doesn't get to do anything and falls to a quad-effective Rock Slide. Second to last out is Blastoise, and because I know I can't take it out in one hit, I swap out into Kingdra, who can take the Blizzard slightly better. I then drop a Choice Spec Stab Draco Meteor, which even through Blastoise's bulk is a one-hit KO. Finally, I face Venusaur, and as long as I can get Kingdra back in and drop a Blizzard, I can win this game. So I swap out into Salamence, whose only job is to take the hit. But the Venusaur just ends up missing us, and it's how I beat a Pokemon or Gold Hardcore Nuzlocke using only Dragon types. Something I've been wanting to do for such a long time since you're allowed so few encounters. Speaking of which, let me know in the comments if you want me to try Diamond and Pearl with only Fire types.
Alright boys, you ready to play another game of golf with your friends?
Definitely. I can't wait to have a bounce back game. What about you, Joe?
I'm super excited for redemption. Last game I thought I was figuring things out. Hopefully I can start off well and never look back for this game.
Yeah, well, after my choke job last game, I need to get first place, like always. I will not settle for anything but first place. Let's do this, boys.
Sounds good. Just a quick note before we start. We will be playing the Oasis map since that was next on the list. And we will only be playing 10 holes since 18 is way too long for the 4 of us. In addition, I turned on collision mode so that will spice things up for this game.
Okay, that seems fair. Let's do this, boys.
Can't wait. Let's start the game, Barack.
Yeah, I need to get first place. This is our third game, so I need to prove to you all the top of Joe, is not messing around. Okay, I'm starting the game up now. Just keep in mind that the color of our balls like to mix up with each other in the beginning. So just make sure it's your turn before you go.
We got you, Barack, but man, I don't think I played on this map. I'm excited.
Same here. Well, I guess I will be starting us off here, huh?
This hole looks pretty simple, Joe. Let's see what you got.
All right, well, I'll just charge this up halfway and see what happens.
Well, it turns out you need to use less power. Unfortunately, that's the disadvantage of going first, Joe. You were the lab rat.
All right, it's my turn now. I'll just aim straight ahead with not too much power.
George, you almost have the same power as Joe's shot. You should have done less than 2 balls.
It's easy to say that now after you've seen both Joe and George go. Let's see what you're made of.
All right, just watch me, boys. Did you seriously just tell George to put in less power when you did the same exact thing? Joe, I don't need to hear it from you this early. Let's see if Donald can benefit from our turn.
Well, I'm going to put slightly less than 2 bars of power in this shot.
Nice one,
And of
Donald.
course, I'm set up in prime position to complete this whole next turn.
That only happened because we were your lab rats. All right, chill out, Barack.
Here we go
I'm
again.
gonna beat my shot. Hopefully I can get a good angle next turn.
Well, that's definitely a good angle, Joe. That was a productive shot.
More like a lucky shot.
All right, let me focus on this shot here. Barack is really on it.
Are you serious, George? You just needed your shot without putting much thought into it. Now you're going to start off by being last place.
That's true for now. Let's see what you got, Barack.
Like Joe, whoa, shot from this angle is the way to go. At least I'll be able to complete the whole next turn.
I guess we will all complete this hole in a reasonable amount of attempts. Except for George, that is.
Seriously, Donald?
Got to deal with
This is
it.
literally the first hole.
So
Why
what?
are you talking so much right now?
That's because you and Barack were talking smack to Donald and I the entire time last game.
Back.
We're just matching the energy. Ignore them, George.
Listen to your
You need
dad,
to focus on
George.
yourself or else you're going to fall through behind.
Are you serious right now? I barely missed the hole right there.
Just don't do anything risky, George. In 2 attempts, you should be able to complete this hole.
Okay, Barack, worry about yourself.
I was able to finish on par. I'm just trying to give you advice on how you should approach this situation.
Damn it, they get you.
You can't be
Wow.
serious with this. I should have completed this hole a long time ago.
At least it's only the first hole, George. You'll be fine.
Well, it's not going to get any easier. Back. See what happens.
As long as I'm still in striking distance from first place, then I don't care.
All right, Barack. I'm curious to see how you approach this since you don't typically go first out of the 4 of us.
Well, I didn't know how to approach this, so let's see where I end up landing.
There's no way you get it in the hole, though,
Well,
right?
you were pretty close,
I was
Barack.
right there.
I'm not sure how to approach this one either, if I'm being honest.
Nice try, Barack. All right, Donald, what do you got for us?
I'm just going to aim right at the hole.
I wish you would.
What the hell?
Did you see that?
Thank God
I
for
was
that.
literally on top of it, and then it just took me to a different part.
That's tough, Donald. Let me show you how it's done.
Oh, really now?
Unlike you, I won't aim straight at the hole, and I'm going to take it slow as well.
Oh, yeah, because that definitely worries right now, George. The way you're talking, George,
George and Barack are all
like you're going to get a hole in one.
back.
Okay, I've heard enough from you, Joe. Hurry it up with your turn.
I'm just going to take the simple approach. Just aim straight ahead with around half power. You better not add more over here, Joe.
You're not doing it, Joe. What are we supposed to do with 3 of us pumped up like this, huh?
What was I supposed to do about that? All right, well, I'm just going to shoot straight and hope it throws me into the hole.
That didn't happen.
This is so stupid, right? What are you even supposed to do on this hole?
I can't relate to King Donald has all this nice cheese to work with.
It won't matter if you don't get it in there, Donald.
Whoa, that was stupid. I
Hold the hell up.
right now. Shut the hell up, Barack. How much you play better?
How about I do this and mess everything up?
You can't be serious right now. What is going on? This is the second time you've done this. You are literally throwing right now. Moving past that, I'm going to put enough power so I can tilt enough to get in the hole. Let Papa Joe cook.
Well, this angle looks promising so far.
There's no way Joe gets this in before. Are you being
What the
real
hell
right
is
now?
that?
I was basically over the hole and you tell me that I somehow skipped over it like that. Well, the move is to probably put enough power in it so it has time to rotate into the hole. I can figure that. Watch me, boys.
Oh boy, let's see this.
Yeah, I'm watching you.
Okay, I don't know how the hell this is going to complete this hole.
You should let your game play. This is fun.
Yes. All right, let's see you then, Donald.
Okay, what was that?
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
I couldn't do much since Joe had to be there, unfortunately. This entire hole is full of it.
Let's see if I can make something happen.
Yeah, I got it.
There has to be a way.
Yeah, no, yes, we'll see. You're not making any
Okay, now, if this is the there is no way someone can actually get the ball in the hole.
Okay, both of you guys need to calm down. Joe will
Wait,
get
are
it
you
like
serious
this.
right now? Where's the ball still moving? That's what I'm talking about. Papa Joe is doing his thing right now. I literally have no idea how to do this hole, so I'm just going to teach it.
Okay, what the hell is going on?
This hole is full of it, Donald. It doesn't matter. I'm tilted right now.
Just because you are frustrated, you can't throw this game away. Look at this. I'm approaching this calm, cool, and collected because of that.
Good, wait, what?
I was at least able to complete this hole with a double bogey.
Okay, but watch, George. Okay, I'm watching.
See, I don't know how to do this.
I don't think anyone knows how to
I
do
feel
it.
like I approached this similarly to you, Donald, and I didn't accomplish anything.
If you guys that as a team.
Okay, then what am I supposed to do there?
You two should be able to get it in this turn since you're right next to the hole.
Okay, this angle looks promising, boys.
Let's see.
It's about the right time I can try to do it all. Come on, Barack, you can do the same thing.
All right, I think I know what I have to do here.
And that should go in as well.
And it did. Fine. That's a good shot, Barack.
Dan, Barack, and I are falling behind. Why are you and Donald being nice to us even though we're losing to you guys?
At the end of the day, this is a game. I'm not going to sit here and be confident.
It's a nice little friendly competition, but I don't want to get too extreme, you feel.
Well, Dan, I feel like I've been messed up to you two then.
Yes, same here. I apologize for my toxicity from the last time we played golf with your friends.
You're good, Baran.
But that's the
Don't
game.
worry about it.
Somehow this hole is easier than the last one.
Yeah, it actually makes me feel confident that I can complete this within a couple of attempts.
Well, Dan, that was a good shot. You'll be able to complete the hole in this next attempt of yours.
Let me guess, George. What's up? You put more power into the shot because you saw me unable to get over the hump, huh?
Come on, Barack. You know that's what sucks the most about going first.
Back.
I went first a lot last game, and now it's happening with you.
Back. Man, I was so close to getting a hole in one there.
Not close enough,
I
Joe.
know I can get a hole.
Of course, you have to be right or lose, Joe.
Well, let me have everyone being pumped up together.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, Donald is making his way
What in
over.
the hell was that?
Whoa. That's right. For once, you actually helped me out.
This game is nonsense.
You're fine,
How do I
Donald.
hit Barack's ball and beat him over the hump while I still have to get over the hump myself? That's stupid.
I think that's a skill issue, Donald.
What's also stupid is that Joe is in the way.
Don't even think about it.
When he gets like watching mess everything up.
You can't be serious right now, George.
Well, I am.
I'm trying to help Barack make a comeback against Donald, and I'm really that desperate.
Joe, don't act all butthurt now. You were literally in front of me. What option did I have?
Maybe don't eat the damn ball every time. That's just messed up.
Joe, it's not like you have any options.
Okay, just quiet down for a sec. Let me get this in real quick.
Wow, that was a really good shot, Donald.
Yeah, I got it.
The fact that you did that casually. Nice one.
And once again, you guys are forgetting about me. What about my shot, huh?
Well, you were quite far away from first place, George. Maybe close the gap a bit and talk.
Facts.
Okay, I'm not too far off of you, too.
Okay, man.
Hopefully I can make this comeback.
Same here. I'm only down 5.
And Joe and I were the ones actually delusional.
Right? It's still very early in this match, Donald. Everything can change right here.
Let's see it then.
And of course, you
I was so close. Come on, man.
Where's this comeback for Rock?
Just watch.
If you're going to talk about one, then at least close the gap a bit, am I right?
Okay, Donald, if you and Joe don't increase the gap, then there's no point sticking your chest out right now.
Whoa, hold on now. Who said the gap wasn't going to increase?
Whoa.
Is this game for real right now?
Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about. I think that's my very first hole in one.
All right, chill out. Let me just copy that real quick.
Nice one, Joe.
Hole in one as well.
You're really trying to diminish Joe's accomplishment, huh?
Don't worry about that, Donald. Let's see what you got.
You should listen to your kid, Donald.
What the hell? My God.
It's okay, Donald. You'll be okay.
You did not get any closer than that,
Now
Donald.
I'm going to take more attempts to complete this hole.
Donald,
I didn't ask
I'm
you to
slowly but surely lessening the gap between us. No pressure, though.
All right, it's my turn.
Okay, what the hell is that for Rock? You just love beating your ball, huh?
I mean, who doesn't love swinging and beating their balls around Donald?
All right, get the hell out of here with your stress crap, Joe.
I'm going to put less power into Rock. I'm sure it will work out.
Oh, yeah, that definitely worked out, Donald.
Seriously, Rock, you're literally all the way back there. Why are you talking?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, really now?
Maybe you should, Donald.
Really now?
Your lead took a hit and you're only up 2 against George and I.
So what?
The trend suggests that we will complete this comeback.
Barack, the last time you talked about trend, Donald whooped you.
No, he just got lucky.
All right, boys, once again, I'm going to use my ball here.
No surprise there.
But it worked out. I guess we'll all be beating our balls on this hole, huh?
I'm not sure what you do after that, but I guess I'll worry about that when the time comes.
Joe, you're always saying that you don't know what to do. You don't have to say it. We know.
Okay. Don't get toxic now, Rock. I'm all for trash talk and friendly competition, but that's taking it too far.
All right, fine, you're right. That's my bad.
They're all good, but I wonder if someone is going to eat their ball and collide to mess everything up.
You mean George, right? That's all he does.
All right, Joe, shut the hell up. Let's see if you can even make it up here.
Excuse me? It's pretty easy to make it up there.
Fact.
Who's in first place right now, huh?
Fact.
Guys,
What, Rock?
isn't it George's turn next?
Fuck.
George, you don't have to do this.
Now, fuck you. You shit.
Are you serious with this right now, George?
Karma's a bitch, ain't it? Look where you are, George.
I don't even know where the hell you guys are.
Well, I gotta say, George,
Fuck this shit.
you helped me once again. You really are my fuck.
Nice
I would have took
one.
that shot.
What was that, Barack? I'm your what now?
You are my bitch.
Excuse me?
Okay, you guys can solve your relationship issues later.
Fact.
I need to figure this shit out.
Let's see what happens here then.
Well, I'll be able to complete this whole next turn. That's what's up. King Donald all the way, bitches.
That was a productive turn. Now where the fuck am I?
I guess you'll see.
What kind of fucking angle is that? How the hell did you still stay up there?
And of course I don't get to stay in bounds.
Get wrecked, Joe. Not bullshit. That's called a skill issue.
You
guys do a lot of shit talking to someone who's in first fucking place. You know that?
Watch your hand.
We're going to how to be in last fucking place and how to stay in last fucking place.
Big fact.
Fuck with that shot.
Yeah, even I can't defend that, George. I'll be waiting for the rest of you guys.
Damn, that must hurt, huh, George?
What the fuck are you talking about, Donald?
Even your boyfriend
Fuck off,
can't
Richard.
defend you. Fucking tough.
All right, well, I think I know what I have to do now, but I have to be a better angler. Did your senile ass finally figure it out, though? It's about damn time. Shut the fuck up, Barack. George's bitch ass literally needed you over here.
Why is everyone calling me a bitch ass?
Because you are indeed a bitch ass.
All right, how about you guys just focus on completing the hole?
How about you shut the
You don't
fuck
have
up?
all day.
All right, Joe, let's see this. Every fucking
You're
time.
literally throwing your
Bouncing
feet away.
in and then it bounces me out. This is some horse shit. Calm your senile kitties, Joe. You need to take a deep breath, okay? I don't want you to throw away first place like that. You've been playing well all game long.
All right, fine, I'll try this then. Here we go again. That's what I'm talking about.
Good shit,
At
Joe.
least I'll be able to salvage some part of my lead. George, what in the actual fuck are you doing right now?
I'll just copy Joe. Watch this.
What the fuck?
George, you are literally shitting the bed right now.
Back.
There's no chance that you will be able to make any kind of comeback after this hole. Even Joe got it in before you, George. Come on.
And what the fuck is that supposed to mean, Barack? Joe has been
Fuck this
improving every
guy.
single
This
time
entire
we
thing
play
is
this
bullshit.
game. He's been playing well, so you can fuck off with your bullshit.
Okay, you guys are distracting me.
Oh, really
I need to focus
now?
up here so I can make a comeback.
Okay, George. You are the literal definition of ass. What in the actual fuck is going on right now?
Okay. Let George cook. Watch the boys.
You are burning the entire place down with your shitty cooking, George.
All right, fine. Don't worry, guys.
Nobody is worrying,
I will
believe
get
me.
through with this next turn of mine.
This is an accident waiting to happen. Will you
How
stop
is it
shitting the bed,
possible?
George? Don't you think you've already done that enough? Get it together.
All right, I assure you guys that this next turn of mine will be a good one.
It's about damn time, George. Even I was falling asleep from your shitty play.
Should we fucking sing hallelujah for that goddamn miracle?
Fuck off,
Well,
Joe. Nobody wants to hear you sing hallelujah. I will make an amazing comeback. Just you watch.
George, you are down bad.
Fuck! I want to get first place. I can't believe I choked it away. Well, I guess the Abominator is still very much in the game.
It's about damn time we got to a new hole. I'm not sure how to really approach this, so I'll just play it safe so I can remain in contention for first place.
That's a good move.
Unlike George's bitch ass.
Again?
Yeah.
Am I seriously being called a bitch ass again?
I think it took you 12 strokes to complete a damn hole, George. Step it up.
For once,
George did not shit the bed with that shot.
Fact.
Who knew he was capable of doing that? All right, Joe, I understand the shit talking, but you gotta make sure you don't put this shit away. Well, that's not going to happen, Barack. I'm going to play it as smart and safe as possible to ensure that I remain in contention for first place. Not bad, but I think I know what to do here.
Let's see it,
I'm
Barack.
going to put a little extra power in my shot compared to you guys.
What the fuck?
Danny, we're not kidding about
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
This
Barack.
fucking shot. You're guaranteed to get it in the next try.
Nobody asked for your analysis, George. Focus on yourself.
As fucked as that is, George, Donald is right here. You have a lot of ground to make up. Wait, where is this path going to take you, Donald? Are you fucking serious right now?
Let's go.
What's the
That's
point of my
what
golden shot if that's all it takes to get it in the hole?
All right, well, I can do the same thing. Watch me, bitches.
Are you sure you can do something that simple, though?
What does it look like I'm doing, Joe? Don't underestimate me.
Well, it's about damn time we do something good, George.
Ain't that
I forget that you even got a hole in one earlier because of the shit you did last hole. I'm able to do the same thing. I'm still keeping up with first place.
You have been playing well, Joe. I just hope that you don't lose to Barack or George.
I wonder why you say that, Donald.
Because I've been supportive of Joe's improvement while you guys have tried to bring him down.
Is it being supportive or is it me driving?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, George. I can't hear you when you're way in last place. Fuck you, Joe. The gap between first and third place is almost non-existent.
You're not wrong about
This is a
that.
super exciting game, I must admit. Okay, but what the fuck are you supposed to do on this hole?
I have no fucking clue, Joe. Let's see what happens.
What the fuck are you doing, Donald?
Fucking up, of
You know
course.
you should use your camera to scout the hole right. You can use the camera to scout my hole, Barack.
What the fuck?
This is exactly why I'm losing.
Oh, really?
You guys are all distracted.
What the fuck was that shot
That
for?
shit. And Donald constantly fucking talking.
George, don't come up with shitty excuses for your shitty play.
Yeah, for real, but let's see what you can do about this hole, Barack.
You aimed it too far to the right. Bob, I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, yeah?
I think you're supposed to clip the left side of that pillar so you can bounce onto the floor. Okay, let me take a look and try doing that then. Hopefully I can take advantage of your guys' mistake.
That's one way to go about it.
Let's see.
And once again, Joe is fucking up. Nothing new here, ladies and gentlemen.
Nobody needs or wants your shitty commentary, George.
For real. All right, let's see if you can solve this, Donald.
I feel like you do have to clip the left side of the pillar.
Let's see what happens then.
Damn it.
Don't worry, Donald, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
Why the fuck are you still talking shit,
For
George?
real.
You've literally become irrelevant.
Okay, I'll change that then by landing onto the course during this turn of mine.
Are you actually being serious right now? What the fuck are you doing?
Fuck.
How do you even explain yourself to that garbage plate, George?
I'll explain explain it by saying it's not over till it's over.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm just going to disregard what George said and focus on flipping the left side of the left pillar.
I'm genuinely confused. I don't know how to go about this.
And it's not like Barack was able to get on the court there, even though he bounced on the railing. That wasn't good enough, so I don't know what the fuck to do.
I'm sure you'll figure it out, Joe.
You got this, Joe.
Are you going to try a different approach, Joe? I don't think so. You bouncing off the railing was the closest we got to making progress with this, so I'll just keep trying that strategy. And once again, we bounced off the railing. How the fuck are you supposed to solve this?
It's time for me to make my amazing comeback.
Fuck out here with your bullshit.
I don't believe you.
Fuck you all then.
Donald, what's your strategy here?
I gotta try the same thing. Nothing else has worked at all.
I mean, eventually it has to work, right? Honestly, at this point, I don't even know Joe.
Let me just try this, boys.
Go for it then. Good luck. Here we go.
And the same fucking animation happened. We bounce off the pillar and we bounce off the railing once and then we beat shit out of bounds.
Alright, it's my turn to try something. Watch me, boys.
With all due respect, George, I forgot you were fucking here.
Whoa, hold on now. I think I just got the blueprint on how we could complete this hole out of all people. It was George's bitch ass.
Seriously? How many times will I be called a bitch ass?
Until you win the game, George, don't take it personally.
Nice try, Barack. I think we all have the same idea as to how we approach this now.
Let's see how you do this, Joe. Good luck to you.
The moment of truth for it. Will Joe land on the other side?
Hell no.
Nice one, Joe. It's about the impact one of us got onto the other side. What was that, George? I wasn't going to make it to the other side.
Fuck off, Joe. We all know that was lucky as hell on my right, boys.
No, you were not right, George. Now you're being the toxic
Nice one, Donald. Good shit, Donald. And George,
What is it?
I was big fuck to them last time we were playing golf with your friends.
Like hell you were.
But I learned my lesson, though. There's a difference between being fucked and having friendly competition and trash talk.
Okay, well, I just got my ball to the other side and nobody's giving me respect.
George, how many times do I have to say that respect is earned, not given?
All right, it's my turn to replicate what you guys did.
Good luck to you, Barack.
Are you how the hell you that right now? How in the hell does that happen when I essentially copied mirrored what you guys did?
I think that's called a skill issue.
All right, George, you need to get the fuck out of here with your toxic bullshit.
Fact.
Why are you being a hater towards Barack now?
Is it not a skill issue, though? He's still on the other side, for fuck's sake.
You out of all people do not get the toxic.
It's fine, Donald. I just need to focus up here and make sure that I can at least remain competitive in the standings. I'm not trying to eat shit. You definitely clutched up for getting to the other side, Barack. Nice one.
It's about damn time.
Fuck.
Wait,
I
what?
think you're fucking slipped.
What in the actual fuck is that, Barack?
Shut the fuck up,
How did
George.
you mess up a shot like that?
Believe me, that pisses me the fuck off.
I know it
When I'm trying to remain competitive in the standings, a shot like that matters. Now I'm down 4. It's all good, Barack. We still got a few holes left. As for this hole, I'm just going to get my shit straight. Well, I guess that worked out for you well, Joe.
I was so close.
You damn near got a hole in one again.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Joe. I thought it was going to go out of bounds when you needed your shot.
You see this, boys? I did the same thing.
How the hell did that happen?
I got a hole in one. Respect me, bitches.
How did George get a hole in one for doing the same shit I did? I have no fucking clue, so hopefully I can do the same thing.
Fuck!
And my fucking dad for pushing you out of the way, Joe. It's fine, Barack. I still have a good angle to get it in next turn anyway.
Hopefully I can get a hole in one. If memory serves correctly, Joe and I are tied right now.
Well, you guys are, but unfortunately for you, there is no hole in one happening.
Only I'm capable of getting a hole in one. I got it twice.
Yeah, and only you're capable of completing a hole at the 12th stroke.
Fuck you.
So I guess we're going to be tied up entering the 9th hole, huh, Joe?
You would be correct, Donald. And well, fuck what I said earlier. You would be incorrect.
Be careful at this game, Donald.
George, shut your bitch ass up.
Goddamn, that kills me inside. Like Barack was saying earlier. It's highly contested to give one away like that. It hurts.
As unfortunate as that is, Donald, we still have 2 holes to make something happen.
You're not wrong.
It's not over till it's over, right?
You guys realize that I can still make a comeback, right?
The chances of that happening is like me getting ripped by Dwayne The Rock Johnson George. Shit's not happening.
Yeah, there's always next time, George. That one hole fucked you up too much.
I tell it, kid. I still got a chance.
How hypocritical are you going to be, George?
Fact.
Last time we played golf with your friend, you said Donald and I were delusional for saying it's not over till it's over, and now you're doing the same thing.
Fact.
I don't know what you're talking about, Joe.
Okay, well, either way, George, there is no way we're throwing this big of a lead. If we play it safely, you can kiss the hopes of your delusional ass come back goodbye.
Let's talk more action, Barack.
Jesus fucking Christ.
All right, well, I'm going to replicate what you 3 did since I'm not trying to fuck my shit up. Sparkling goal is to still get first place.
I'm really proud of your improvement from when we first played this game to now, Joe.
Thanks, Donald.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait a bit longer for your long-awaited first place.
God damn it.
Respect me, bitches.
Fuck. Ain't no way in hell you're asking for respect after that one, George. Come on, you're better than that.
Whatever you say, Barack. Let's see you stay in back. Bullshit.
I most definitely will. Watch how an abominator does it. We're not going to the goddamn hole yeeted my shit out of bounds.
Excuse me.
Then you will win.
Whoa. That is so fucking close, Joe. You don't want to slip away your 1 point lead.
Wait, what the fuck am I doing all the way back here? I thought I made it to the other side. I am so confused.
I am too.
Someone fucking explain to me what in the actual fuck is going on right now. Okay, to be honest, Joe, I can't explain that shit. I touched out of bounds before getting back on the court, and it's still a valid shot, so I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I don't know if it's a glitch or there's something that happened during that shot that you didn't see.
Ultimately, I will accept the final score regardless of this, but I can't help but feel a bit frustrated as to what the fuck just happened. I wish I had answers. I wish I had answers for you too, Joe. I wanted to win, but I don't want there to be any kind of uncertainty. And of course, I can't make up for that by getting it in the hole with your shot. It's okay. I think we'll still be tied for now, right, Donald? Correct, Joe. Assuming I make my next shot.
Are you guys watching me? I'm literally cooking right now.
Nobody gives a fuck, George. Get over it.
George, I don't know how many times I have to tell you that you became irrelevant after you took 12 attempts to finish that one hole.
Okay, Joe, that was a fun shot. Thanks, fuck. This shit to keep us tied, isn't it?
This is a prime example of Joe's growth. In our first game, Joe was inconsistent with hitting shots like that since he was using too much power or too little power. Good shit, Joe.
We're on the final hole, boys. Anything could happen.
I'm feeling super anxious. It's okay,
Really
Joe.
hope that I can see the time. It would be absolutely devastating to get second place.
I think you got a good shot at it. But this is the angle that I'm going to try working with. I'm not going to do anything risky. Slow and steady wins the race. Am I right, Joe?
You're right, but you barely have an angle. Thank God for that fucking sand.
Should I fuck more shit up?
Fuck off, George. Don't interfere in Donald and Joe's battle for first place.
Yeah, seriously, George, that would be crossing the line.
All right, it's my turn to make something happen. I will also play this shit conservatively so I can at least smile at Donald.
Thank fucking God you barely missed my ball there, Joe. And you did it. I doubt you would have had an angle to work with like Donald does.
Yeah, but now I can choose to fuck Joe's shit up since he's right next to me.
Don't even fucking think about it, George.
Okay, it's your turn now, Donald. Let's see how you do this.
Well, I'll just set myself up in a prime position to get it in next turn. This is going to come down to our aims, Joe.
He's not wrong about that, Joe. I wish you two the best of luck.
Thanks, George.
Meantime, I will once again beat Barack
Wait, what?
out of here.
Are you fucking kidding me right now,
That was
George?
pretty fucking funny, Barack. I'm not going to lie.
As funny as that was, I gotta make sure I don't fuck up here. I will play this safely once again.
Jesus fucking Christ, Joe, you were once again close to bumping your George.
That's a tough one to hit in Joe. It will be up to you to get that shot in if you want to have the game tied up when it's all said and done.
Yeah, since George's bitch ass.
Yeah, with the bitch ass.
I have no choice but to kiss the long as hell.
All right, buckle up, boys. This turn will determine everything. I need to get this shot in.
Damn, Donald, you did that with no hesitation. That was clean as fuck.
Thanks, Joe. It's going to be up to you if you want to tie this thing up. All the times you fucked up with aim and power. That will be put to the test once again. This is your time, Joe. Let's see what you got.
The moment of truth.
This fucking anxiety.
Here it goes.
Looks promising.
Good shit, Joe. I'm so fucking proud of you for that.
Let's fucking go. I'm so fucking happy. You deserve at least a tie for first place. I feel super good about my performance, and I'm confident that I can get first place next time we play.
Holy fucking shit, this is a super entertaining game.
Facts.
I love the collision mode. I think that will be something we keep moving forward. What do you guys think?
I definitely think so. And with that, boys, another game of golf with your friends is in the books. Good game to all of you guys. This was a super entertaining game, and I can't wait to play another one with you guys soon.
GG to you all. Like Donald said, this was a fun game and I can't wait for us to play more. Even though I got third place, I will be striving more than ever to get back to first place. I gotta go for now, but we will coordinate once again to figure out a time in which we can play next.
GG boys. I felt like I had a pretty solid game with the exception of that one hole when I took 12 attempts to complete it. Other than that, I know I can do better. If I clean up on a few things, which includes ensuring that I don't fuck up that badly.
The future of Golden State hangs in the balance. Fight, outthink, aid, manipulate, steal, run. The world and its denizens.
Welcome everyone, my name is Sylph, and this is my attempt to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke with Pokemon Fire Red with only Flying-type Pokemon. The full rule set for this run is listed down below, but basically only the first Flying-type encounter in each route or area can be caught if the Pokemon things that must be permanently lost. No items except held items in battle. Party Pokemon levels are limited to the next gym leader or Elite Force Ace. And finally, the battle mode must be put on set at all times. The flying type is definitely an interesting one in the main story of Fire Red and Leaf Green, with all the fully evolved Pokemon on screen available. Although Cypher is only available in Fire Red, the reason why we're playing. Since we're not allowed to use legendaries, the 3 legendary birds are not available to us, unfortunately. There are a few more of these Pokemon that we're actually going to be unable to obtain due to the rules and Fire Red's game setup. We're going to be playing an ultra hardcore Nuzlocke where we can only use Pokemon that we can actually catch as a flying type, not those who later evolve to have it, since we can't use non-flying Pokemon in battle. The experience share also isn't available until we catch 50 Pokemon in this game anyway, which we're not allowed to do, of course. Meaning Charizard, Butterfree, and Dragonite will be unobtainable. I can already foresee some major challenges with a flying hardcore Nuzlocke, as I'm sure you can, but without any further ado, let's get down to business. It's time to choose our starter, and I'm going to go with Charmander, so Blue chooses Squirtle, which will arguably be the hardest starter to face in the end. Since Charmander isn't yet a flying type, as per the rules, we have to deposit it as soon as possible, but first we have to smash Blue into the ground with it. After getting Pokeballs, it's game on. Can I just note how these two scientists in Oak's lab say the exact same things like they're hostages or something? Nothing out of the ordinary here, we're just scientists. After Blue said he's going to tell his sister not to give us a town map, you can guess where we're going. Daisy Oaks said, house to get the town map. She's a legend. Probably my favorite character. It's time for our first encounter, Pidgey, which we catch and nickname Vanilla because, it's the standard flying type here, isn't it? Incredibly, it ends up having a jolly nature, plus speed and minor special attack, which is fantastic as both flying and normal moves are all physical in this gen. Our very first battle with Vanilla is already insane. This arch nemesis Pidgey outspeeds us, but misses 2 tackles in a row, then we break the speed tie on the third to take it out while taking no damage. Vanilla is absolutely magical and perhaps immortal. Don't tell anyone. After it learns Sand Attack and gets to level 8, I'm feeling safe to get our next encounter right away on the route that a lot of people forget about, Route 22, west of Viridian City. Here we can obtain a Spearow, which I nearly killed by the way, and we nicknamed it Killshot. Killshot has a lonely nature, plus attack and minus defense, which is both good and bad, especially given what we have coming up. What I love about Fire Red and Leaf Green is that literally everything on the first 2 routes gives either speed or attack needs, and maybe are perfect since we already have Stab super effective tech on Killshot. After driving both of our birds to level 10, we take on Viridian Forest, which, as you can imagine, is quite an easy task with all the bug types. I'm very happy that there's Kakuna and Metapod in here, though, as we're going to need some defense CDs for us to come. After a bit more glad hunts our Pokemon are almost level 14, it's time for something I'm honestly not even sure is even possible. The Rock Type Computer City Gym. Even the trainer in the gym is absolutely terrifying. With a combination of Sand Attack and Gust, we're able to bring this Geodude low with Vanilla despite its infinite defense curls, but we're within KO range. Thankfully, we can safely switch into Killshot, and despite getting hit twice, despite the accuracy drops, we take it out with Fury Attack. But he also has a Sandshrew, and now we can't lower its accuracy since Vanilla is too low to switch in. Thankfully, the Sandshrew ends up starting to spam Defense Curl, and even though our other attacks do like 1 HP, at least Fury Attack can get you to 5